What is going on, and welcome to week 7 of our Barrell versus Bardstown King of the Blend series, where we are trying to find out which one of these companies can make the better blends. I have 9 bottles from Barrell, I have 9 bottles from Bardstown. It's a 2-point game as of right now, and it's not just my opinion. I've got 2 more votes right in here, so let's find out who's going to take week 7. So if you don't know how this works, let me explain it to you real quick. I have 9 different Barrell products, 9 different Bardstown products. I tried to put them together in a way that I thought was the most fair. The different finishes going against other finishes that are similar. Proof points, if we can make them close, we did that as well. Today we have Barrell PX Sherry versus the Bardstown Silver Oak. I haven't had this one before. Shout out Kevin for allowing me to get this from his collection because I didn't quite have enough Bardstown products to put this all together. Bardstown, if you want to send me anything, feel free. After that, I blinded it out to my patrons. They knew which bottles were involved, but they didn't know which bottle was going up against which, and they definitely didn't know which samples they were getting because every patron got 2 sets of these blinds. So that would mean each week we would have 3 points each, my vote as well as the 2 patrons' votes. I wanted to get them involved because I wanted this to be not just my opinion, and I also wanted it to be more blind for them versus me, who might be able to pick these out of a lineup. But of course, I am also going to do this blind as well, which is why we are spinning this up here on our solo blind. And let's figure out which one of these is going to win this week and who's going to get 2, 1, or 3 more points in our King of the Blend series. Cheers, y'all. Everybody knows before we get started on all of that, it's time for the traditional sip. That is good. Let's talk about our contenders here. The bottle to the right, this is Barrell Bourbon Cask Finish Series PX Sherries. This is edition number 1. This is 6 years old. This is 115.52 proof, and this is coming in with Kentucky 9-year and 10-year, Indiana 6, 7, 8, and 12-year, Tennessee 7 and 15-year, with a derived mash bill of 80% corn, 16% rye, 4% malted barley. And I gotta tell you, for a PX Sherry finish, which I don't usually love, this was an absolute banger. That is going up against our Bardstown Collaborative Series. This is the Silver Oak, a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in Silver Oak Cabernet barrel. So again, Cabernet, PX Sherry, tried to keep them similar, but this is only coming in at 108 proof. It doesn't tell us much, but it does say, scan this QR code for more information. And when you do that, it takes you to this beautiful website. It tells us we've got 14-year Kentucky, 12-year Tennessee, 10-year Kentucky, 9-year Indiana, 10-year Kentucky, 12-year Georgia. It tells you all the mash bills on there. I'll put them on the screen. You can look them up yourself. Absolutely crazy how similar it comes down to the different ages, all of the different blends in this, and this is why we're doing this, because these are actual kings of these blends. The crazy thing about these is the tasting notes, they're not the same by any means, but they're kind of similar in different aspects. This one's a little bit spicy over here, but they're both giving me such dark fruit notes, which I absolutely love. This doesn't lean quite as hard into that proof, but it also doesn't lean quite as hard into any of those tannic notes as well. It doesn't dry out the palate, which when you usually do something like maybe a Cabernet or something like that, you might bring out more of those tannic notes, which I don't love, and this doesn't do that. So I'm wondering, maybe that's this one over here, but again, the spiciness on this kind of feels like it should lean more towards this one. This is absolutely crazy. I love both of these glasses a lot. I'm telling you, dark fruit, there's like a fig on this. I eat fig bars here at home. There's like a fig on this. There might be like a little bit of an oak on this, but nothing crazy. And when we talked about those age statements, I thought there would be more of that. Why this one over here, dark fruit notes, fig on this, a little bit of oak as well. But it's so weird, the spiciness that comes out of this one versus this one's, the mouthfeel that's on this one. The nose on this one's a little bit better, but yet the experience on this one seems a little bit less harsh, I would say. A little less edgy when it comes to the actual experience. Full-bodied, flavored. I'm telling you that both of these are shocking me with how good they actually are. I knew they were going to be good, but when I did this entire thing, I didn't think that this would be the matchup where I'm really struggling to pick out my favorite, nor figuring out if these might be my favorite 2 amongst the group so far. I mean, there's a chocolatey note on this one. There might even be a chocolatey note on this one as well. The finishes on these are forever, so it's hard to almost like, I want to kind of take a sip of water in between those, and I think I'm going to, because I'm usually trying to pick out the nuance between flavors, and when they're this similar, you kind of got to figure out, am I still sipping on this one, or am I actually sipping on this one over here? So for the first time in a very long time when doing a blind like this, I'm going to get some water in between the 2 of these. I'm actually really excited that these 2 are this close, because again, when you get those higher proofs versus those lower proofs, and it's nothing crazy, right? We're talking 108 versus 115, but it's still enough that usually, and I do think I can notice the proof, but I don't know if I'm equating that to spiciness or proof, and I really don't care at this point. Both of these are so phenomenal that I really have to figure out which one I like better. We're gonna go back into glass 1 over here. I'm gonna go back and forth a couple of times. I'll cut all this part out, but this is the best lineup we've had so far. plum, raisin, chocolate, everything I love. Little clove, little black pepper, little bit of oak, nothing overpowering. A lot going on in this glass. Very complex, very dense, very heavy in the glass, which I was not expecting. This one over here, very similar flavor profile. I just feel like it takes me on a different journey. I almost start with the oak and chocolate, and a lot of people, they bring that up on the tail end. They're like, there's chocolate, there's age notes, that's in the back of the palate. I start in the back of the palate, but that's kind of what I pick up on first. That's what my brain kind of hones in on first, and then it comes back through and it's like, yeah, there's those fruity notes. It's still plum. It's still raisin. This one over here, maybe a little bit creamier, maybe like a buttery note to it almost, while this one over here is kind of lacking that, and a little bit more spice over here, while this one's lacking a lot of spice. There's still a spice here, maybe more of that black peppery spice than like anything deep when it comes to the spicy note, but there is a spice on this, so I would love to know the actual mash bill. Maybe they have that online as well. Like, the experience of drinking this one is just so smooth, so easy. People can hate on that word all they want, but it's so easy to sip on this glass right here. It's enjoyable from the second it touches your tongue until you're done drinking it and that finish still lingers in your mouth. This one over here is the same exact way, but for some reason, and we gotta be nitpicking at this point, for some reason that sharpness with the spiciness, which I usually love when it's followed up with sweetness, which is what this glass, I keep thinking this is this glass, so I'm going like this, which is what this glass does so well. But just going up against this one, I feel like that perfect experience from start to finish is kind of what I gotta pick this one for, because both of these tasting notes wise are the exact same to me. They're both phenomenal. They're both 9s out of 10s when it comes to the tasting notes. So now I've got to go into the experience, because some people, they might go into the nose. I don't go into the nose too often, just because, again, I'm not picking up, I don't nose whiskeys. I know people, they do. I don't. It's just not for me. I don't get, like, I'm not enjoying the nose of a whiskey where I'm like, oh, I will buy that whiskey. Like, I'm never buying a whiskey off the nose, but I'll buy a whiskey off the taste, and I'll buy a whiskey off the drinking experience. And so far, they're pretty much tied in taste, and I feel like the experience of drinking this one is just slightly better. I almost wish, and I know this video is dragging on, I almost wish this had just a hint more of the spice, and I almost wish that this just had a hint less of the spice, if that makes any sense. If I were to blend them, I'd blend them both here together. But let's get into it. I'm going to give this one the win. I'm very curious what my patrons picked, if they agreed with me, if they agreed with each other, or if they're split, because so far it seems like the patrons have been against me overall, where I think only one time they split, and one time they've agreed with me. There's only been one 3-point play so far. So on week 7, this is a 2-point game. We only have 9 weeks of this, so let's find out what this is. This is going to be our winner. I'm gonna just one more, I promise you. I just want to say before I tell you, this is going to be our winner. This might be the best whiskey that I've tried amongst the group outside of this one. Out of all 18 bottles of whiskey, this is the second best one, and somehow this is going to probably be my first best one, and they went up against each other. And again, I didn't like try these all out. I just thought Cabernet versus Sherry. I think this proof versus that proof, this batch product versus that batch product. So it just worked out here. Well, this was one of the best lineups and 2 of the best whiskeys that I've tried so far. So let's find out what this is. It's either going to say Barrell or Bardstown, and it says Bardstown. So the winner is going to be Bardstown, which is absolutely crazy, coming in, what is that, 7, almost 8 proof points lower, which means this is going to be our Barrell product. Barrell was up 2 right now. They're up 1 with my vote, and let's find out what my patrons picked. We got 2 more answers right in here. All right, here we go. JWA, Jason W, and Aaron OD both picked A. We got to go to the phone. My wife put this all together for us, so we got to go to the phone and find out what A was. This could be a 3-point swing, putting Bardstown back in front, or it could be a 1-point game going into week 8. Let's find out what it is. Holy shit. They both picked the Barrell PX Sherry. And again, this was very, very close for me, but they both picked the Barrell PX Sherry, which means it was up 2, then it was up 1, now it's up 3. And that's very manageable going into week 8, right? Anything can happen here. There's still 6 points on the board going into week 8. So right now, we have Barrell up 3. I'll put the score on the board with Bardstown knocking on the door. And this is exactly what you want when you put together a competition like this. You didn't want it to be a blowout, and right now it is a close game going into week 8. So I got to know in the comment section below, who did you have winning this particular lineup? Do you have these 2 bottles? Can you blind these yourself and tell me who you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win overall? Barrell, Bardstown, both king of the blends if you ask me, but we're about to find out in the next 2 weeks who I think and who my patrons think is going to be the #1 winner. We are off Patreon right now, but we will be joining a different community soon. I will keep you all updated on that. And to be updated on that first before anybody else, make sure you check us out on Discord. That link in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay drinking finished whiskeys, because I had a video about those earlier and people told me they don't drink finished whiskeys. Barrell, Bardstown, listen, call each other, take these two, 50-50 blend. I promise you, you're not going to be mad. I might be King Blender right now, or I just might have drank too much. But cheers, y'all. Barrell, Bardstown, it'll work together. A collaborative series between the two of you would be absolutely crazy. The people want what the people want. Cheers, y'all.